Hi, I'm Senator Adam Hollier, and I'm going to be reading The Runners Sandals, written by Isabel Campoy, illustrated by James Fernhaber, and it's an art press book. The Runners Sandals, written by Isabel Campoy, illustrated by James Fernhaber. Hulachi was an Incan messenger, Chisque. He was the fastest runner, and he knew all the roads and shortcuts in the kingdom. He would quickly climb mountains to get away from long, winding roads. He was also the king's favorite messenger. You see him? The mountains running through. One day, Hulachi was called to see the king. "Listen carefully," the king said. "This is probably the most important mission you have ever had. Take this quipu to the general in the north and come back soon with his answer. It is very important." Hulachi loved the king like a father. The king's happiness was more important to Hulachi than his own, so he quickly began his journey to see the general in the north. You see this? This is what he's using to take the message. The quipu, a knotted rope with smaller knotted ropes tied to in a special way to communicate a message or number. You see the ropes tied here and the king giving the message to Hulachi? Not far from the king's palace, Hulachi saw a woman lying on the side of the road. She was crying, asking for help. "I fell and broke my leg," she cried. "I need to go to my daughter's house. She will take care of me." Hulachi was a kind man. He remembered his own mother. She had always told him to help people in need. He could not leave the old woman alone by the side of the road. He thought to himself, "I'll take her to her daughter's house, and then I'll run even faster to get this message to the general." See Hulachi? See the woman who's fallen? You can see the wall and him running. See his carrying the message still. He took her in his arms and walked into the forest, but the trip was much further than he thought. Half a day later, they arrived at the house. "I know there is nothing that can repay your kindness," the old woman said, "but take this pair of new sandals and remember these words. When you wear these sandals, your heart will take you faster than your feet." Hulachi put the sandals in his backpack and started running. Here's Hulachi carrying the woman through the forest. On his way, he found other messengers walking toward him. "Don't bother going north," one messenger warned. "The king knows you disobeyed him. He is mad at you." Hulachi returned to the king's palace and tried to explain. The king was still unhappy. As punishment, the king banned Hulachi from being a messenger. The king decided that Hulachi would have to clean the palace floors and become a servant for all the messengers. With a broken heart, Hulachi obeyed his king. He spent many days silently cleaning the sandals and the clothes of the other messengers. See Hulachi sad right here? And him cleaning and all the other messengers' feet right there. One day, as he was scrubbing the palace floors, he heard the king giving instructions to his messengers. "Our kingdom is in great danger. Our enemies want to invade us. I need you to go to the four corners of my kingdom and warn my generals. This is very important." Hulachi was determined to help the king. He remembered the words of the old woman. "When you wear these sandals, your heart will take you faster than your feet." See the soldiers that are concerned? These are conquistadors. And the king speaking to his messengers, Hulachi hearing with his special sandals in his back. Hulachi quickly pulled the sandals out of his backpack and placed them on his feet. The instant the sandals were on, he began to fly. He thought, "I must disobey my king in order to help him. Only I can get the four corners of the kingdom and warn the generals quickly enough to save us." Here's Hulachi putting on the sandals and the wings coming out of his feet and him flying up through the sky. Hulachi sped to the north, passing over the other messengers. When he arrived, he delivered the king's message to the general. "The king sent me here to warn you that an enemy is coming. You must prepare for battle." Hulachi set off to warn the other generals. He flew from the north to the south, from the south to the east, and lastly, from the east to the west. Hulachi made sure that each general heard the king's important message. With the warnings, the generals were able to prepare for the enemy's attack. See him going from north all the way, one general, another, going to south, east to west, covered a lot of ground. When he returned to the palace, Hulachi wanted to give the good news to the king. But if the king knew how Hulachi had disobeyed him, he would be very upset. So Hulachi hid his face with a poncho and went to tell the king the good news. The king was happy and thankful. He tried to give the unknown messenger a gift for his amazing run, but Hulachi rushed away. As he fled the palace, one of his sandals fell up. See Hulachi right here with the hood over and telling the king about his message, and the king finding Hulachi's slipper, but he didn't know it was Hulachi. The next morning, all the kingdom's messengers were asked to come to the palace to try on the sandal. The king wanted to find the person who had saved the kingdom. Old and young, fast and slow, weak and strong, messengers came from all over the land, and one by one, each failed to fit the sandal. Hulachi sat silently in a dark corner, watching the messengers try to fit the sandal. When the last messenger failed the test, the king noticed Hulachi and got an idea. Here is the king and all the messengers in the land. "You were once my faithful servant," the king said. "You were my best messenger, and I've never stopped loving you. I want you to try this too." The sandal fit perfectly. The king named Hulachi the bravest messenger in the history of the kingdom. Stories of Hulachi were told and retold for years and years, and to this day, Hulachi's grandsons, granddaughters, great-granddaughters, grandsons, great-grandsons, and great-granddaughters are still the fastest runners in the world. About the author. Isabel Campoy is the author of over 100 children's books. She is a recognized scholar devoted to social justice and to promoting diverse books in diverse languages. Isabel is a recipient of the Ramon Santiago and Tomas Riviera Awards. Among others, she is a member of the North American Academy of the Spanish Language. About the story. The Runners Sandals is based on an Incan folktale. While there is definitely magic at work in the story, the job of a chisque, like Hulachi, was very real in the Inca Empire. Chisques were not just trained to run great distances, but also to be experts in the art of communication. The quipos they carried, sometimes called talking knots, were ropes with many knotted strands hanging from them. As the Incas did not have an alphabet, quipos served as a kind of reading and writing system. Each knot most likely represented a number. Though recent research suggests they may have represented sounds or words too, and helped the chisques remember the details of their messages. The chisques could read and write information on the quipu, translated, and pass on the rest by word of mouth. They played a very important role in the Incan society, and with them gone, the quipus are surrounded in mystery. That's the end.